If you're anything like me, you've had a hard time keeping track of all the guys named Bell in the history of medicine and surgery. There's four you have to basically keep track of: Benjamin Bell, John Bell, Charles Bell, and Joseph Bell. Benjamin Bell, born 1749 and died 1806, was a staff surgeon at the Royal Infirmary. He trained under Alexander Monro Secundus. While he was in Edinburgh, he published a 6-volume set on surgery from 1783 to 1788. It was later expanded into 7 volumes. His book didn't break any new surgical ground, but it was extremely popular. It was translated into French, German, Italian, went into many other editions, crossed the Atlantic. John Bell, 1763 to 1820, was also in Edinburgh. Now, he got into a bit of a scuffle with another gentleman over the staffing of surgeons to the infirmary by the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh. Essentially, in the course of that controversy, John Bell was excluded. So there was a bit of a falling out, and John and Benjamin are not related and were not friends. John Bell was the first to ligate the gluteal artery and tie off also the carotid artery. His book on surgery, first published in 1801, also went into a zillion editions, largely with the help of subsequent editorship by his brother Charles. Charles Bell, 1774 to 1842, John's younger brother, as I mentioned, not only pushed through subsequent editions of John Bell's surgery, he was also an accomplished anatomist, published his own works, and one in particular stands out now. And here's a facsimile of it. Only, I think, 2 or 3 known copies still exist, and that was his New Idea, is what it's called. This book has been repeatedly misunderstood at the hands of subsequent medical historians, thinking that he figured out that the posterior nerves of the spinal cord, or the posterior roots, were responsible for sensation and the anterior for motor function. If you read this book, and I encourage you to do so, that's not really what he described, but he was essentially figuring out the divisions of the nervous system, and that there were divisions to be discovered, not yet fully understood. A limiting factor for the discovery he was in the act of making was the fact that he had to rely on vivisection to do it, and the animals could not really sustain the procedure. And that's just, unfortunately, the history of medicine. Joseph Bell, 1837 to 1911, was a teacher of no less than Arthur Conan Doyle when he was studying surgery. Joseph Bell apparently was the basis for the character Sherlock Holmes, which I find a curiosity, but okay. He published an article showing apparently that shale oil is carcinogenic. This was not a new concept. Exogenous carcinogens had been described. Thank you very much, Percival Pott. So in the course of medical history and collecting, you want to keep track of all the bells lurking about. There are others that we didn't mention in this, and some of these bells are related to each other and some are not, and some esteemed each other and some held others in contempt and animosity. Some bells made major advancements and discoveries, and some bells less so, but still left a legacy in other forms.